Hello and welcome to another video. So today's video is actually going to be a part 2. I will have part 1 linked above in the little corner thing. So this is part 2 of me reading YA books and trying to scare myself. I would say that book 1 from part 1 was pretty successful, so go check that one out. And book 2 I am reading for this is going to be Girl from the Well by Rin Chupeco. This is like a retelling of a Japanese legend that was similar to the retelling in the movie The Ring. For my entire life, The Ring has been the scariest movie I've ever seen. To be fair, I have not watched it in probably 15 years, maybe longer. But that's the movie that scared me. That's the one that haunted me and gave me nightmares for a while. So this other retelling of it, I'm really excited to get into it. Also, in the back, this is kind of what got me one of these reviews. Part The Ring, part The Grudge, part The Exorcist. A fantastical, creepy story sure to keep readers up at night. That really pulled me in. That on top of I read a bunch of Goodreads reviews for it. Not too many, so I still don't really know exactly what the story is going to be, but enough to be like, okay, I want to read this. So I did actually start reading the book. I am on chapter 3, which is only on page 20, but as you can see, I've already started tabbing and I started making notes in it. So far, I'm loving the writing style so much. Chapter 1 kind of has that very interesting pull. So this is the second YA horror book I've ever read in my entire life. And this, along with the last book I read, chapter 1 is that's the shock factor. That's what pulls you in. That's what sets the tone. And this chapter 1 was so good. It was so good. It didn't exactly scare me, but I feel like it could have. I'm liking this book, not so much for the scare factor, but more so for the writing style. This is a writing style I've never read before. So let me just show you a little example. I don't know if you could. So there's indents and there's spacing and stuff on purpose. It's supposed to disrupt the story. It's supposed to unsettle you. And it's so good. And so the main character is a ghost. And she's been a ghost for, I think they said 100 years. And you can kind of tell that her sense of self is being distorted. And it's so cool to read that. So you can kind of see at times where it's written as a distant third person point of view. And then within the same sentence, you're suddenly switched. You're in the mind of her. You're very close first person. And that is so interesting. I've never read anything like that before. I've only read 20 pages of this, but I expect this to be another 5-star favorite read. I'm so excited. All right, I'll see you soon. So I got these press-on Halloween nails, and I left them in the box, but now that they're on, I kind of hate them. Anyways, so let's update on the book. I'm on page 125-ish. I'm exactly halfway through the book, and I actually had to stop myself reading so that I can film an update because I'm just flying through this. I love it so much. There were parts of it where I was kind of getting a little bit annoyed because it kept doing this whole oh, I have a secret, but I can never tell anybody kind of thing. And I thought that they were going to get into this cycle that YA books tend to do where they just overdo that, but they didn't. It moved on very quickly from the I have a secret, I can't tell anybody thing into actually explaining what the secret is, and I'm very happy about that because that annoys me so much. I'm still loving the writing style. It's still different from what I'm used to reading. It's unique. The problem I have with it though is at times it's so unique, I'm a little bit confused. There's the end of one chapter where, I don't want to give any spoilers, but an event happens and it's unclear which character this event is happening to, as well as who's leaving the room afterwards. That part is just a little bit confusing. I don't know if maybe I just didn't get it and it's very clear, but I don't know. I thought that part was a little bit confusing, and the very unique writing style is kind of what made it confusing. So far, I want to give this 5 stars because it's very, very enjoyable, and I can also see this becoming a favorite, but I can't because there are times I get confused with the writing style, and there's also things I'm not sure if they're typos or if I'm, again, just not getting it. But right now it's a solid, strong 4 stars. All right, hello, good morning. If I don't point out to you that I look like a mess, do you notice? Yes, probably. I'm breaking out really bad, but like, it is what it is. Originally, I was going to update when I finished reading the book. I have not finished it because I'm having a problem. So I'm on page 166, which is chapter 16. I don't know, man, the pacing just slowed down so hard. So I read the first like 125 pages, like the first 50% of the book in like 3 days. Probably less, honestly, probably more like 2 days. Like I flew through the first 50%. It was just so good. And now it's taking me like 4 days to read the next 40 pages. Yeah, the pacing slowed down a lot. I'm also noticing some issues that other people were complaining about in the Goodreads. And honestly, I think I have to stop reading Goodreads reviews because it's just like, changes my mind about things I'm enjoying, and it's so toxic, honestly. So the story is not very, like, it's linear, but it doesn't feel very linear. Like, we have Tark's story, but he's not really the main character. He's like a side character, and like our main character is Okiku, and she's basically like observing Tark's story, and she's observing his cousin Callie's story, and she's also kind of going off and doing her own thing. So I have to keep remembering that this is Okiku's story and not Tark's story, because like one of the problems was we were going down the main storyline, like Tark's main storyline, and then suddenly we're off doing like a side storyline that was only really a chapter long. And I've got to remember, like, right, this is Okiku's story. She's doing what she wants to do. She's living her afterlife. But I don't know, I'm a little bit more invested in Tark's story than hers because I'm not exactly sure what her story is, besides the whole like she kills murderers and she gets vengeance for her own death that way. I don't know, I'm just hoping that it kind of gets reeled back in and kind of goes forward with the same strength and intensity that the first like half of the book was in. Otherwise, like, that's really disappointing because I was really enjoying the first half. This is kind of bittersweet because this book is book 115, which completes my 2021 reading challenge, but it's also only a 2-star book. This book made me so mad. But before I tell you why I'm mad, let me just kind of give like a little recap of what this book is about, because like my last book, I went into this blind, I didn't know what it was about, and now I do because I read the book. So we are following Okiku, who was brutally murdered about 300 years ago, and now she is a ghost who comes back and murders people who murder children or people who harm children. She ends up running into Tark, which is short for Tarkin. He made some kind of joke about him being named after some Roman emperor that nobody ever remembers, and I have no idea who that is, and I didn't look it up. So anyways, Tark has a evil, dark spirit attached to him, and Okiku is interested, so she ends up sticking around to kind of see what's going on, observing and getting involved when she wants to. So the rest of the book is Tark realizing that there is something attached to him and he can see Okiku sometimes when she wants to be seen. And so the book is him trying to get that demon excised. If you recall from like the beginning clips, I was all over this book. I was loving it. I read the first 50% of the book in like 2 days, maybe less. And like you can kind of see I have a ton of tabs. Mostly they're from the first half of the book and they kind of just like taper off. I loved the writing style. A lot of people on Goodreads did not vibe with the writing style. So this switches point of views a lot. We start off with a third person omniscient and it switches to first person very quickly. Sometimes it happens in the same sentence, which I get why some people are thrown off by that. Like, that's kind of a bold thing to do. And it's one of those things that I tried to do in a creative writing class in college and I was shut down very quickly. So it's one of those things that is rarely done. And if it is done, it is covered in criticism. I liked it. I thought that it was really cool. It showed Okiku's mentality better because she's been a ghost for like, 300 years or so. And her kind of grasp on reality is not the same as like mine or your grasp on reality. It's a lot more abstract, the way she sees and thinks. And so it's cool for that to be kind of shown through the writing and the point of view switches and stuff like that. I thought it was really cool. So the first half, I was loving it. Everything about it, I loved it. The pacing, amazing. The characters, I was getting into them. Okiku, I thought was very interesting. The writing style, interesting. And then we hit that 50% mark and everything tumbled downhill very quickly. The last 50% took me a week and a half to read, which is embarrassing considering 50% is 125 pages. So for it to take 9, maybe 10 days to read 125 pages and call myself a booktuber is embarrassing. But the reason is that the pacing just went so slow, and I found myself dragging my feet to pick this back up, and events were happening that had nothing to do with the main plot. It had me asking a lot, why? Like, why is this happening? What is happening now? And then the writing style got to be a little too creative, and I was getting confused on what was happening. So like the green tabs I have are for instances when I was confused and I did not know what was happening. Like there was a time when somebody gets killed and I didn't know who it was because the writing was too abstract. There's another time where I thought that something happened to a specific character and it turns out to be a dream sequence, and it was not clear it was a dream sequence. I'm still not sure it was. Yeah, it just fell off. Like if it kept the same power and intensity of the first half of the book, this would have been a 5-star read. And instead, because I'm so mad at how the second half turned out compared to the first half, I have to get it 2 stars. So that 2 stars is a very emotional, very petty, very salty rating, and I'm gonna own that. Like, I get it. If I was to review this objectively, I'd probably give it 3 stars because there were some really good elements of this and the ending was really good. Objectively. Objectively. I thought that the ending emotionally was not good because by the time we got there, I didn't want to read this book anymore. I was dreading reading it. I wanted to be reading something else. I wanted to be watching spooky movies, whatever. And I'm so mad because by the time the juicy things happened, it was already 100 pages of nonsense. And that just completely lost my interest. Scare factor. Was I scared? Because the whole point of this video was trying to scare myself by reading YA horror. No, I wasn't scared. Nothing about this really was scary. There were some descriptions of Okiku and some descriptions of murders that were kind of gruesome, I guess, but not really in the same sense as like Mary was, like from the previous video. Yeah, and besides descriptions, nothing really scary was happening. But yeah, so even though like people were being killed and stuff, there didn't really seem to be that much danger involved, and so there wasn't really anything to be scared about unless you're scared of small descriptions. Like this one was less scary than Mary by a significant amount. Definitely scarier than Scooby-Doo, so wouldn't give this to a child, but like, I don't know, like it wasn't scary. So originally I wanted to have this video out on Halloween, and clearly it is not Halloween today. But things happened and I was not able to film the end of this video in time. So instead you're getting it a little bit late and it is no longer Halloween, but it is what it is. A little bit of spooky content after Halloween isn't gonna hurt anybody. But anyways, thank you so much for watching and I will see you next time. Bye.